Hello, this is Steve Geisler bringing you another Parts Now Tech Tip. What I want to talk about today deals with the HP LaserJet M506 printer series. For the M506, there is a tray in the front that's called Tray 1 according to HP, also known as the MPT tray, multi-purpose tray. On the copier world you'll hear it called bypass tray. This tray, you've got the little extension up the front, and I can feed media through here. Put a piece of paper or two or three, and it'll feed in. Well, if I ever end up with an issue of a multi-feed, that is, it feeds in more than one sheet at a time, so I might end up feeding two sheets at a time back to back, or I could get a couple of sheets where the first one feeds in fine, the second one kind of trails and staggers along behind the first one. That's a problem. And when that happens, typically the separation pad is the culprit for that, and we need to at least inspect, if not replace the separation pad. So that's what we're going to focus on in this one. Now you might be going, Steve, it's a separation pad. How tough can this be? Well, actually in the 506, there are a couple tricky spots on it, which is why I want to spend some time on it. So getting into this, I'm going to bring the printer here a little bit closer to you and show you how to dig into this. First off, I should point out there's a little button on the side here to open up the front door. You're probably aware of that. And inside here, I'm going to bring the printer closer to you. I'm going to loop around and we're going to bring our camera in a little bit closer here. So if it looks like home video night, that's maybe a little bit of that going on here. Printer, looking inside, my pickup roller that sits inside here. I like to give myself a little bit more room, so I'm going to pull out the toner cartridge. And I'm going to get it out of the way so I don't have problems with it as I'm working on stuff. My pickup roller is kind of typical of a lot of the HP rollers. In fact, let's zoom in even more so you get a little bit better view. Bring her in a little bit closer yet, because this is going to come in handy here in just a second. And as we're looking at my pickup roller, there are two tabs, one up on top here, one on top here. And you go, Steve, a lot of the other machines also have tabs. Yeah, you do. And normally you take your fingernails, you just kind of pop them out, and it springs out at you. But this one doesn't do that. In fact, we find ourselves struggling a little bit. So I suggest kind of getting the one. You might even want to get a flathead screwdriver, a slotted screwdriver in there. Notice how this one is kind of popped out, and I may have to push the roller a little bit forward. And then get this one, and then between the two, I'm able to rotate this roller out and bring it out of here. You'll notice that there's a little pin down here in the corner in order to, this is the pivot point, I should say. So it's going to, when it goes back in, it's going to kind of fit in the slot and then rock back down. And with my pivot point there, there's also a little notch up on the top here, and that's what the catch is on a little plastic piece up here. So that's what holds it in place. Horseshoe type of roller here, I cannot put it in backward. And some of the older rollers, they would have just a little rubber gap across here, and you could actually take the rubber and kind of rotate it on the roller. This one, good luck. That's going to be a little bit tougher to do. So with the roller out, I'm going to set that aside, and we're going to just continue to go after our separation pad. The separation pad is down below where my pickup roller was, and I really can't get at it at this point in time. And I'm looking, there's no screw here to pull the pad out. And let's see, well, how do I do this? Maybe I could take this rod out of the way, but there's no screws, there's no clips. This is going to be a job to get this thing out. Or if I happen to do it the right way, what you're looking for instead is there's a little clip down inside this area. So I'm going to rotate the machine up so you can see a little bit better, and we're going to take a look at that guy. So as I rotate this guy up here, kind of give you a good view if at all possible here, a little bit of a challenge. There we go. Way down underneath, and I can think you could just kind of see this little blue clip that's way down at the bottom there. See him sitting inside there? So I'm not pointing at it. I'm just trying to hold this roller in place so that you can see over the top down into that area. And there's a little blue clip there. And what I needed to do with that blue clip is just push it down. So I'm going to take it here, kind of get back in position so you can see things again. I'm going to kind of push this forward and take my blue clip, and I'm just going to push that down. And as I do that, notice how this whole pickup roller assembly slides off to the side, but it only goes so far. Well, now, over here on the side, see this little green tab here? This little handle. And I can lift this up, I can slide that off to the side, and all of a sudden, whoa, my separation pad has popped loose. So now I can physically take my separation pad out of here. And as I do that, we're going to notice that there's a spring across the back here. So spring normally doesn't go sprung, which is good, but keep your eyes on it because you never know. I also want to point out the little guides on the side here. You see the guide that's on there? And on the opposite side, I've got another guide. Well, that lines up with some little pins here on the side. So as I reinstall it or install a new one, it's got to line up with those. If you don't line them up, it's going to take you all day. That's one of the tricky parts. So the first tricky part is getting this little roller, holder out of the way. And the second tricky part is the little guide here and putting it back in. What am I looking for in a bad separation pad? If you've got experience in the field, you'll probably say, hey, Steve, you're looking for shiny spots, you're looking for worn spots. Absolutely. And as I look at this pad here, it's nice and matte. In other words, there are no shiny spots. There are no grooves that are worn into it where a second piece of paper might be able to push past this abrasive piece of rubber that's designed in here to catch the second sheet. So this one's looking good here. No shiny, no grooves. So this probably isn't going to be the culprit. You're seeing a good pad here. So let's put this guy back in again. So I'm going to take those little grooves on the side, remember again, and I'm going to line them up with little tabs in here which are almost impossible to see, so I do it more so by the feel, and I got it first time. I made it look easy. That's uncommon. So as I push that down, I can now slide that roller guide back into place, drop the little guide back down again, and with that I'm going to grab my pickup roller, and I'm going to take that. Remember, we've got two little pins on here, right? The round one is going to be my pivot point that's going to go in the base, and the other one is going to be that point that's going to clip in. Put that back into place, take my roller, and I can push it down. It's going to pivot down, and it clips into place. I always like to give rollers a tug once I've gotten them in, whether it's the pickup roller for tray 1 or whether it's just a clip-on roller for my cassette trays. Always give them a tug. It's my philosophy on this. So once I've got that back into place, I've got my toner cartridge. That can go back in. And with my cartridge back in, we're going to back up here just a little bit. My machine is now set. Paper is put back in its tray. And it looks like we've got movie night about over at this point in time, which is good news. And we have gone through and we have replaced the separation pad for M506. So with that, you should be able to do this out in the field with not too much trouble at all. Keep calm. You'll do just fine. And to finish up, this is Steve Geichert giving you another Parts Now Tech Tip.